IG land. Hello, romance. Ashley Collins, aka Beyond Two Dragons. Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Breakup Diaries. A spectacular guest I have with me right now. Could you please introduce us to yourself?
Oh, I am Samantha Walker. Sisters of Legacy, Purpose for Forever. Pick one. They're both me.
So he talked to us about Sisters of Legacy first, please. How did that get started? The origin story.
Oh gosh. Okay, so my husband, AD, he has Brothers of Legacy, and for the longest he had been trying to get me to do Sisters of Legacy. And I kind of really wasn't interested. This whole internet thing is a lot for me. To be constantly on here is a lot. So he kept asking, and then I kind of felt like, you know what? I do have something to say. And I think, as a woman, my voice is important. So we compromised. Instead of doing every day like the Brothers of Legacy do, I did agree to doing once a week. And I felt like, there are other women that have a lot to offer, things to say, and I didn't want to do it by myself. So I picked three other ladies that I know that I genuinely believe are good women, good sound information, wisdom, grace, class. So I picked them to assist me.
Oh, so you've known them for a very long time then.
Well, one of them I've known since I was like 10 years old. Um, yes. So, and the other two, I've known them for a while, but I'll say I've known of them. Like, we're all a part of the same church organization. So, I've seen them around and kind of seen them move and, how they operate and like watch from a distance. And then in the last year or so, they've kind of come into the whole Purpose for Forever fold. And so we've established a really, I guess, close relationship, I'll say. So, yeah. But it seemed like even though it's been a short amount of time, we've gotten to know each other very well.
So now talk to us about Purpose for Forever.
Again, my husband. um, that was definitely him. He has been doing this internet podcasting thing for the last couple of years. And originally, when he started, we were not together. We were actually fully divorced at the time, with no hopes of being together again. And he was doing it for a few years, and then our circumstances changed. We decided to reconcile and put our lives back together. Um, and in the process, it was kind of like, wow, this is an interesting story, not only to live, but to tell. And so he decided it would be a good idea for us to tell it to everybody. um, and because, like I said, we were reconciling, and I thought it was a good idea to kind of become a part of his world. Since, we had been through a lot. And I was like, it's better, we're going to reconcile. Maybe I need to try to step my foot into some of the things he was doing. So that's kind of how it got started. And then since then, it's kind of taken on a life of its own.
Nice, nice. And how do you find the guests for Purpose for Forever? Because it's always like a wide variety, like super young couples or like older couples who've been together for like decades. Like, how do you find them?
Well, honestly, most of the couples, just about everyone that we've had on, are people that we've encountered in one way or another, whether it's been church or like work or, that we've known for years. And it's kind of like we've seen their relationship, and again, feeling like they have something that they could offer. We have to feel like there's some wisdom there, Not that their relationships are perfect, but that they're committed to longevity in their relationship.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Sidebar. For those of you who are watching live, I cannot see your comments. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. But if there's something wrong with our sound or our visual, if you could like send one of us a DM so we could fix that. Okay. But thank you so much for watching live. We're not ignoring your comments. We just can't see them.
Oh
Okay.
wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
different.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. 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 Let's talk about movies.
You said movies?
Mm-hmm. What did you think
Okay.
of Malcolm? What did you think of Malcolm and Marie?
Um listen. Honestly, if you're just asking me myself, I would say I personally thought it was a waste of 2 hours.
Was it 2 hours?
Or one, whatever. It felt like it was 6 hours long because it was very, very exhausting.
Mm,
I really didn't understand the purpose of the movie. It wasn't a love story, not from where I sit. So I don't know. I guess everybody's definition of love is very different. For me, it wasn't a love story. I just feel like it was one of those movies that just didn't really have to be made. I mean, I do know that we talked about it last night, but that was more of a collective thing. You know, since it's a legacy, I initially did start it, but we run it as a group and a
yeah.
collective. So when watching the movie and talking about it came up, I wanted to be a part of that. So I didn't want to make it seem like, well, I started it and I don't want to talk about it. So that's kind of why we talked about it. But like on a personal level, I could have did without it. I really thought it was it was an awful portrayal of relationships. Um, and not that it doesn't happen, but just that I don't know. It just highlighted the ugliest part of any relationship. I didn't really care for the fact that they were black. I felt like it shed a negative light on relationships and people of color.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that was my personal, you know, feelings toward it.
Do you think it's kind of trendy to have to be in a toxic relationship?
Hmm. Trendy?
Yeah, because you see that word kind of circulating a lot, that hashtag a lot, being like, "Oh, my relationship was toxic. My family was toxic. This is why the way that I am," and it's kind of like we're bonding because we're also traumatized. Have you? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I honestly feel like the whole, mm, I feel like in a lot of ways, a lot of people have started to compare themselves. Like we compare ourselves to everything. Oh,
Yeah.
your relationship is toxic. Well, mine is toxic too because da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. You look like this. Maybe I should look like this. I think it's the whole comparison thing has become trendy. We compare ourselves to
Um,
everything. Um, I think that part has become trendy, not necessarily being in the toxic relationship, but just the whole comparison of it. And then the words like toxic and narcissism, and, it's like everybody's learned new words and they just kind of stick them everywhere.
That's so true. That's so true. We've all learned new words. I love that. I love that. Okay. Okay. Why specifically, I chose that word specifically, why is it so hard to raise a child during this pandemic right now?
Hard to raise a child? I mean, I have two children, and I don't know that it's become harder during the pandemic. Honestly, I'll say for me, it's almost become easier for me to parent during the pandemic. I mean, I lost my job. I got laid off, so I have been home. I am parenting more than I have from my standpoint in a long time. I mean, when you work an 8, 9 hour day, you tack in travel time and, back and forth or whatever. How much time do you actually spend parenting in a day? So I feel like, now for people that have been forced to be home with their children, you know, I guess it could be more challenging if you've always, worked outside of the house. But I think a lot of the pressure is more because there's so much other weight attached. Because if you've lost your job and you're forced to be home, you have the financial side of it. And then you have the whole cabin fever part, where you're limited to where you can go, how far you can go, what you can do. So I think the weight of all those things is kind of what makes the parenting piece seem harder than it was before.
Hmm. True, true, true. Um, so it's kind of trendy. It's kind of like a cool thing to be in a polyamorous relationship where you're like it, when you have more than one partner, or you're like, oh, we're in an open-ended relationship, we can do whatever we want. So what's the incentive to getting married now anymore?
Again, I don't really do trendy. Like, the incentive to getting married, it boils down to what you want for your individual life. Like, I can't tell you what's right for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if that's the route you want to take, I think that's your decision. But um, I say the incentive for getting married has to be what you want. It has to be you wanting to be a part of an exclusive relationship and you wanting to build on that. Because if that's not what you want, then you're not going to see the upside to being married.
Mm,
If commitment and exclusivity is not something you desire, then marriage is not for you. If you don't want to be with one person and love and live for however many years you have left, then marriage is not for you. Doesn't matter how many ways I try to turn it upside down and shine it up for you. If that's not your goal, if that's not what you desire, then marriage is not for you. So I mean, like I said, the polyamorous and all these wonderful words, that have come into play in the last couple of years. And not that the words haven't always existed, but it's just, they sound nice now. It's like a new toy people play with. All these great words and all these great terms. And so people go for it. But I feel like if marriage is not for you, if you want something other than what marriage is, I think you should just not get married. Don't get married and try to turn marriage into a whole circus. That's not, that's not what it is. But again, like these are my personal, these are my personal feelings about things. But to each his own. Like I'm not going to tell somebody what they should do and what they shouldn't do. I feel like marriage is sacred. The vows I made to my husband are just that, to my husband. The parts of me that I want to share with him for the rest of my life is just that. That's what I want to share with him for the rest of my life. I didn't want to keep sharing it everywhere else. Like, so.
it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Okay, so the slogan "Happy Wife, Happy Life" is that true?
Okay, so I really feel like this is kind of like a setup. Some of
No.
these questions, is that true? No, I think, what did somebody say? Happy spouse, happy house. I
Oh.
think that should be more of the theme of your marriage and your household. Because even as a woman, I think it's great that my husband caters to me and that my husband spoils me. But at the same time, marriage is supposed to be 100% on both sides. So the same effort he puts into being my husband, I should put in the same amount of effort to be his wife. So if that means, spoiling him and catering to him, I feel like it should go both ways. So quoting something that means all that matters is my feelings, my heart, my thoughts. Again, that's not how marriage was intended. Just only one person has to be happy. And then what does your husband do? He just is along for the ride. He's
Yeah,
just there to make you happy, to serve you, to. Then what do men get out of it? If that's what we say a marriage is, what is a man getting out of it?
basically.
Yeah,
Basically, in
so.
conclusion. Okay, okay. So, a woman was arrested recently for leaving her two daughters in a hotel room. They were 10 and 2 years old.
Mm,
She was working at a pizza shop in the general area.
mm-hmm.
Do you think this was fair?
Um, fair. I think actions have consequences.
Mm,
And I feel like she made some poor choices. I'm sure from her standpoint, I'm assuming that her back was against the wall because I'm not familiar with this story whatsoever. Um, so just hold your little comments, because I know people, they comment and they say stuff like, "How could you say this?" And um, I'm guessing that she felt her back was against the wall, and maybe that was her only option. Granted, but our actions still have consequences.
yeah,
So when you make a decision, unfortunately, no matter how right you might feel the decision is, you still might have to face the consequence of that decision.
it's true.
So, I mean, that's the most I can say because, again, like I said, I'm not familiar with that story. So, it's hard to fully comment on something I don't know the ins and outs of.
No, yeah, no. Um, I it really shocked me because when we were younger, my mom left us alone all the time, and I didn't know that you're not supposed to do that until I got older. She would leave us in the car in the grocery store for like hours, you know, but I didn't know that she wasn't supposed to do that, you know.
We over the weekend we took a trip with Purpose for Forever, couple of couples, and it came up over the weekend. How things were acceptable back in the day. That's not really acceptable now, and
Hmm.
I kind of made the argument that it was wrong then and it's still wrong now. Lots of things that were done even when I was coming up wasn't right. People did it, and maybe society didn't condemn them for it, but I don't feel like it made it right.
It's true.
So,
It's true. It's true. It's true. Um, 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 oh, okay, okay. Oh, I'm excited for this one. Okay.
oh boy. Okay.
So is the goal in fixing the economy to tax the rich more? And if that's the case, then what's the incentive to being wealthy if I'm going to have to, pay so much more than you guys?
Well, I mean, if you think about the way taxes was set up from the beginning or the way it's supposed to work, is the more you make, the more you're taxed. That's generally how it works. I think it's unfair for somebody that makes $3 million a year to pay the same amount of taxes that I make. If you think about it in those terms, doesn't that seem a little unfair? Like that means you get to keep so much more of what you make, and I'm struggling with my little tax bracket. I mean, I don't think the goal to fixing the economy is necessarily to tax anybody more. I
Oh,
think, the way a lot of things are set up, there's no equality in it, period. So, like, how the big discussion, how Trump only paid a little amount of money for his taxes and he's a billionaire. Like
Hmm.
that's totally, there's no equality in that where you have people that are working and slaving all year and paying a lot of money in taxes. So I think the idea of fixing the economy just has to be equality. We have to figure out how it's equal on all sides, whether you're a millionaire or an everyday working person. I feel like it has to be some equality.
Word. Word, word, word. Okay, okay, okay. Um, should we only date in our race?
Whew. Should we only date in our race?
That question was brought up because I saw like rotating, and even in real life, black men wearing shirts saying black women only. But I thought to myself, but what if they were wearing shirts that said Spanish women only or Asian women only? Like that, I feel like I'd feel some type of way.
Well, I'll say this. The reality of the situation is, you like what you like. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you're a person of color and you like or you're more attracted to Caucasian women or men, I think that is fine for you to make that as a personal choice. For me, it becomes an issue when you put down your race as being inferior to the other based on your preference. Like it's fine if you're a man of color and you like Caucasian women. I just think that in your pursuit of Caucasian women, you should not be stepping on women of color. So it shouldn't be like, well, Becky's better because Tanisha, she wears weaves, or because Tanisha, she's too loud, or because Tanisha's too aggressive. So I feel like if you just make a personal choice that you like a certain thing, that's fine. Just don't put down, one race as being inferior just because you have no interest in it. And then
Hmm.
how do you put down black women and you're a black man and your mother is a black woman? So I think, there's a lot of issues when you see stuff like that happen. But if you're attracted to people of other races and that's your personal preference, go for it.
Go for it. Do you think that we should get rid of the N word?
We should get rid of it as a word. I mean, what's the reality of that happening? Like, I don't see that's gonna be something that's ever going to happen at this point. Um, so I don't even know what that would look like to get rid of the word. Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that. There's no getting rid of it. It's like one of those things that can't be, you can't undo it. It's like the cat's out of the bag. The word has been used. We all know what it means. You can't undo it. You can't take the sting out of it. Because I know people say, "Oh, well, we took the word back and we made it, our own." You
Yeah.
can't. The word is what it is. Like for your grandparents or great grands, that word is always going to be offensive. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter even if they hear you using it with your friends. It's still going to remind them, of a certain time and a certain place. So I think there is no undoing the word or, repurposing it. It is what it is. And unfortunately, there's a lot of hurt attached to it. So,
Word, word. So following that, do you agree with the statement that black women are the most disrespected being on the planet? And if yes, why? And if no, why not?
disrespected. I think when we go to the whole planet, it's a hard thing to say because I feel like every group feels like they're the most abused, disregarded, disrespected on the planet, in the world. So I think when you go group by group, you're going to get that across the board. I will say, as a woman of color, being a black woman, I do feel um, a lot of times that women are disrespected. We are disrespected, unfortunately, um, a lot of times by those that look like us. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
though we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. The same way, you have the N word, you got the B word. There was a time when that was offensive. Like, you call somebody that and it was like, we're going to fight. That was an offensive term. Now we call each other that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to demand respect from other groups or outside of our race, and we don't respect ourselves. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
we have to start within, and then you could hold somebody else accountable for disrespecting us. If we respect ourselves, I think that's where it starts. Like, we have to respect ourselves, and then we can demand respect. You can't disrespect yourselves amongst each other. Like, I'm on here and I'm like, girl, be this and be that. And then I get upset when someone else calls me that very same term. Like, it's kind of, the same way with the N word. Like, we have to start somewhere. The respect has to start with us. And then I feel like it's easier to hold others accountable. So do I feel like we're the most disrespected in the world? Because I happen to be a black woman and a part of the African American race, of course I'm going to feel that just based on who I am. I can't say, oh, those people over there look like they're more disrespected, because I'm not experiencing it. So from my experience, it's gonna feel extreme. But do I feel like in the most world? I feel like disrespect, unfortunately, is the going theme with the races, the genders. There's disrespect everywhere. I mean, we've experienced that. What, the last 4 years, we've been disrespected by our own president, not just black women. Men, people with learning disabilities. We've seen, the amount of disrespect come from that office just on a wide scale. So I think the disrespect, unfortunately, is like that's become trendy now. Like disrespecting people or other races or other cultures or different genders is just like that's what we do now. We just disrespect each other.
Mm. It's true. It's true though. It's true. Why don't you like social media?
Well, I'm not gonna say I don't like it. Initially, I'm more of a private person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like to share what I like to share, and then the rest is just that. Before social media, let's think about it. Would you really be trying to communicate with 300 people? Like, right, you got out of high school, you may have had a handful of friends that you stayed connected to, for years after high school, and you were fine with that. But now social media is like the pressure for you to be connected to all these people. And for me, it's a lot. Like, I don't want to be connected to all these people. I get tired of, in a day, you could have to say happy birthday to 50 people. And
Yeah.
if you don't, comment happy birthday, or if you don't like somebody's picture, or if you don't comment, you know, then it's, oh, well, this or it's that, or it's all this pressure. So for me, social media is just a lot. Like, there's no real connection. Like, people use it to make themselves feel better. People use it to make other people feel bad. There's good and bad things with everything, but just social media can be a lot. So it's not my first preference. Um, that's all. It's not like I really dislike it, but I could do without it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not one of those things where I have to have it. Like I could be okay without it. I mean, honestly, I don't even think I have 1,000 friends on my Facebook. I'd be lucky if I have 500, and that's with still accepting people that I wish, you know, and it's kind of like a pressure. You know,
Yeah.
people send you, you feel the pressure to accept friend requests and try to be connected to people. For me, it's just a lot. So
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but it's just social media. I try not to take it too serious. Um, I'm mindful of how I use it, what I post, what I respond to. Um, so yeah.
That's that was gonna be like a sidebar question. So feel free not to answer this if you don't want to, but it's been getting a lot replying to everything. Cause like there's that pressure of like for me it's been taking like borderline almost 2 hours and it's like, oh, I haven't even eaten yet. And then they want you to reply right away. So but then like you have to reply to everything in order to grow. And it's like I'm just kind of like, I don't want to reply to anything right now. Like if you want to talk to me, DM me, but I'm not gonna reply to you right away. And is that wrong?
Well, I think because of the platform you're trying to create, that does mean your social media usage has to increase. Because I mean, for me, like this is part of the reason why I'm on it as much as I am now. Having Sisters of Legacy, having Purpose for Forever, there is a greater pressure if I want it to grow and reach and touch more people. I have to be more engaging. So, that means, unfortunately, there's more posts. There is more responding to messages and reaching out to people. It is a lot more pressure because you're using this platform to grow your brand. So, I mean, when you think of it in terms of that, yeah, you are gonna have more pressure to do that. And just like everything else, people want what they want when they want it. So when I message you now, I want you to respond
Right
now.
now. Yeah. Word, word, word. Okay. So let's say that you have an album. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. What genre of music is it and what's the title?
Oh my God. If I had an album, what genre of music would it be? I would have to say, hmm, probably like R&B. Amazingly, it would definitely be like some kind of weird cross between R&B and gospel. Like Kirk Franklin would have to help me with it, like that
Yeah,
kind
okay.
of, because Kirk Franklin has that kind of music that kind of teeters between both. What would be the title of it? Oh goodness, something like I'm Just Me.
Hmm, I dig that. I dig that. Okay, so where can we like you, stalk you, follow you, all that fun stuff, blow up your messages?
Oh, where could you like me? Okay, so on Facebook, I'm just me. I am I am Samantha Walker on Facebook, and of course we have purposed with a D for forever, and Sisters of Legacy. So I have all of those on Facebook.
Because no, you guys have a YouTube page too, Sisters of Legacy.
Sure.
No,
I'm
no.
not sure. No, I think I do. Well, see, some of these extra things is branding and my husband, but I believe there is a YouTube page for Sisters of Legacy as well as Purpose for Forever. We do have YouTube pages. I believe there is an Instagram. He's very, very busy. Um, with a little bit of everything. But I would say the easiest place to find us is definitely um, on Facebook. Mondays at 8 p.m., we do Purpose for Forever, which is marriage, not just relationship. It's definitely marriage centered. Um, so we're on every Monday at 8 p.m. Sisters of Legacy is on once a week as well at 8:30 on Tuesdays.
And then final question, I'll let you go for the evening. So you're very strong. You don't agree?
Um, like I said, for me, I just think I'm just me. Like people, I've heard that before. I've heard people say, stuff like that before. And for me, I don't see it. I just feel like I'm just me. Like things, hurt me. I'm I'm sensitive even though nobody would ever know that. Like, um, that's like one of those behind the scenes type deal. Like you would never know that. I'm great with a poker face because I'll hold it in, get to my car. I might cry on the way home or be angry, but you won't really know that you've affected me kind of
Mm,
like that way. Um, because I'm careful not to give people too much power in my life. And so when people think that they can affect you a certain way, they tend to stay in that vein. So if I feel like if you don't know whatever you said has had an effect on me one way or another, you'll move it right along. So do I think I'm very strong? I don't think, I tell Anthony all the time, like, I'm not a unicorn. Like, I'm not one of a kind. There, I don't believe like I'm so superior in any particular area, that it just makes me so unique. I feel like there are lots of people that share the same strength that I have. They just maybe, are careful or selective with how they display it or just very personal or, it gets mislabeled as something else because that happens a lot too. So
true.
I'm sorry. Was there a question? Because I think I
No,
kind
yeah,
of
sorry.
cut you off.
I was going to ask you how can I be strong like you?
I, you know, I'll say for me, a couple of things I do. Okay, so I'll just once I make a decision, I'm gonna go with it. Like even if I'm second guessing it in my head, I'm gonna stand by my decision. I also try to be a person of my word. When I say I'm gonna do something, I try very hard to do it because not necessarily for other people, but like that's how I want people to experience me. When people
Yeah.
meet me, I want them to feel like, oh well, she said she was gonna do this and she did it. She makes a decision and she stands by it. Um, I don't know, like I've been through a lot growing up, just living life. I've experienced a lot. Has made my endurance level, I guess, a little more. I
Hmm.
don't really consider or think about what people think of me. I will say that, like, I honestly don't care. Um, I really don't. Like, you would honestly have to be a part of my inner circle for me to be concerned with what you thought of me or whatever. And even with that, I mean, like, all the way inner circle. Like, maybe I can count that on one hand. Outside of that, I just try to um, hold my beliefs close. I try to do what I feel is pleasing to God first. And I'll say what I feel is pleasing because it's not necessarily what other people think I should do. It's really what other people think I should say.
Hmm.
I stick to like my personal convictions. If I feel like something is wrong, then that means it's wrong. That means it's
Hmm.
wrong for me. It's going to be, that's just what I live by. It doesn't matter if everybody's doing it. It doesn't matter what everybody thinks. I just stick to my personal convictions. And then I'm very hard on myself. Like, I examine myself, the way I move, what I say, what I've said, and I make sure that those things stay in line with who I feel I am as a person, and then also who I want to be as a person. And now that I'm a parent, I always think about how everything's going to affect my kids. What I want them to see, what I want them to experience, and who ultimately I want them to grow up to be. So, yeah.
I love that.
I mean, I cry a lot, just people don't see it. So,
Mhm.
strength. I mean, I think getting up every day and um, just continuing to move forward, that takes a level of strength. Never quitting, continuing to go after your dream, that's strength. Like people don't realize, I think a lot of times what strength actually is just, persevering, being consistent. Those are all, attributes of being strong. You just got to stay after it. Even when you fall, even when it hurts, even when you don't want to, just stick with it.
Thank you. This was so rewarding. Thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me.
No problem. Listen, this is the first, and yeah, for me, this is a first. I
Is
don't
it? No, it's
really
not.
a first to sit by myself and just talk about myself for 40 minutes straight. Oh, absolutely. This is absolutely a first. Like, yeah, this.
Well, you did great.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time. And I'll see you tomorrow morning.
All right, you have a good night.
Bye. How do I end?